For many Nigerians, the economy is at its worst state, particularly in generations, leading to the widespread hardship and anger amongst many people. Now, some Nigerians are demanding a reversal of government policies 1 year after authorities embarked on a bold but unpopular economic reform. Now, the President Bola Tinubu's administration has so far refused to change course in spite of the reaction, insisting his reforms will improve Nigeria's ailing economy. Now, Nigeria's former Vice President Atiku says the nation's economy has worsened under President Bola Tinubu. Well, I believe that for many Nigerians who, of course, are abreast with the current realities, maybe, just maybe, they might, want to toe the line of the former president. But to make sense of this on the program today, I'm joined live in the studio by Razaq Olokoba. He's a public affairs analyst, and Adeyemi, Saka, a public affairs analyst, both joining me live in the studio here in Lagos. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So maybe to start off the conversation, let's do a bit of, what I call it, statistical analysis as regards where Nigeria was, last year, or maybe 4 years before, maybe 8 years, and where we are now, particularly when it comes to the economy. So I want those data to come on the screen right now in terms of the GDP, in terms of inflation rate, and maybe the cost of goods. Yes. Okay, I believe maybe that, yeah, so there you have it. Now, Tinubu's 1 year in office, economic indices there has it. Inflation rate then was about 22.41%. But now, you have it there at 33.69%. That's for the current inflation rate now. Now, let's look at the interest rate. Then it was 18%. Now is 26.25%. And of course, moving from there, let's look at the exchange rate. You have it there on the screen. Decrease though, that's about 220.4%. That's on the plus. And then from there, let's also move to specifics now, talking about foreign reserves. A bit depleted, you would say, as of May 24, 2024. Now, let's also move on from the reserves, talk about oil production. Then it was 1.18. That's a million barrels per day. Now it's about 1.28. An improvement, an increase, you'd also say, at about 8.4%. And also the price of diesel. But maybe we should just stop here. Looking at those indices, let me start off with you, Razaq. And the president insisting that these reforms is taking us in the right direction. Looking at these figures, is Nigeria heading in the right direction?
Well, thank you very much. Instead of removing ourselves from where we find ourselves today again, it is better for us to look at what's really wrong with Nigeria. Because if you limit your concern to Buhari and Tinubu's time, we are doing a disservice to our nation. Successive government has always been better than has always been worse than the past government since 1999. When Obasanjo came in, it's always a comparison between him and Abdul Salam. So, and that's been the pattern till today. So, we need not to look at the concern that it should be fluctuating to say that by this administration and Trump's administration, in some areas, there were some area of improvement, there were some area of, so, but in our own case, that's not the case. Since 1990, you have worse insecurity, and it's a pattern to today. So instead of leaving the drive to government, we should join in the concern. All of us should be involved in the concern. And that is why the driving scene doesn't belong to the government alone. Don't you buy fuel? Don't you pay rent? So, and that is why we should not remove ourselves in insisting that the direction we are going, we can't go that direction again. And my summary is that instead of handing over government to the people, with a caveat that This is the same system used by Obasanjo, by Jonathan, by Buhari, and by Tinubu. What gives this government the impression that there's something that they can do that they want to do with this system? And that's what I think should be the focus of Nigerians now. We like it or not, it's going to be our president for 4 years. But the pain will remain with us. So don't let us join the blackmail of the political class, the APs, the PDP, can I conclude?
Okay.
The PDP, the Labour, they are not making case for us. They are making case for their ballot in the coming election. So let's make a case for ourselves.
So what case are we making for ourselves?
The case we are making for ourselves is that let's take the direction of the president away from thinking that this political structure in place can prosper us. And that's what we are not doing. When Obasanjo was there, nobody joined us. State police, nobody said no. Structure said no. The structure we have in place is marvelous. Only for OBJ himself to now say today that I was part of 2 or 3 delegations to OBJ on this particular structure. I was on part of the delegation to Jonathan several times. It was very only that didn't bother to because I knew that he may not likely look at the structure.
On this issue,
so if you want us to debate and take our nation serious, don't leave the driving seat to them. They are under the assumption that once they get to the office, the structure is going to work. They read budget every day. They sign monies for bullets and guns. So to say that you still need state police, it's difficult for them to condemn unless we speak in unison.
I understand the aspect of structure, right? But in this scenario, what is the immediate thing? There's no immediate thing about it. The current administration, on the first day, immediately was sworn into office, made some bold moves and some bold reforms, one of which is the removal of subsidy, and that's why I think the ripple effect is being felt virtually across. The exchange rate unification is also part of it. And people are reacting to say, look, since that has happened, the prices, of virtually everything, including feeding, has gone up. So it might not really be, maybe for this administration, it might...
With or without the removal of subsidy, we will still have gotten to this point.
Anyway, let's listen to Adeyemi on this one, before we, of course, go a bit deeper.
For me, I probably know, a lot of people know where I stand on this conversation. 1 year, some people, sympathizers, or those I call political vuvuzelas of this administration will tell you that 1 year is too early to determine or probably assess this administration with. And I'll tell you, you have an idea of the grades you graduated in the university from your first year. Your performance in your 100 level determines what you come up with or come out with graduating at the end of your 4-year course. And coincidentally, this is also a 4-year term in stay in office. And you ask yourself, what's the first year has been about? What can you point as lofty achievements? You probably want to indict a lot of other administration. And the good thing about the conversation Razaq Olokoba came up with was while he was in opposition, these were arguments. President Bola Tinubu pushed forward to make himself seem as a Democrat, as a man of the people, questioning the status quo and have an idea of a better way to lead the country. He's been there for 1 year. They're still battling LG autonomy. And, so for me, there's no way we can cut him some slack. So we can never cut this administration. And yeah, there's been few gains here and there. But if you want me to rate this government overall, I probably want to rate it in negative integer.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
Well, this is me bringing my mathematical sciences background into bear. I probably want to rate it in negative integer. Because from 1999, especially of what you want to say, even to Jonathan administration, the GDP was growing at 5% annually. The Jonathan administration that was vigorously campaigned against and was, voted out of office based on, activities of the opposition, inflation was around 16, 17%. The interest rate was around 13, about 15%, which is opposition. Coincidentally, they are now the crop of public office holders now we're crying that was against economic revival of the country that was so high manufacturing cannot survive. So is it that when they got into office, they realized that, well, they were just talk is cheap? And it's not about the government. And I said this, and I'll probably need to tone down my language you see, it is quite annoying if you tell us that we have to go through pains for us to gain. Please, can you tell me, don't come with the explanation or the example of tribal marks in Yoruba culture that says after they pay, it becomes fashion and everything. Can you tell me one thing that has inflicted so much pain on and anything under humanity or human existence that probably brought out gain? Maybe except childbirth. Take away those two things. Have there been anything? War brings you pain. Has there any nation that survived the ruins of war? You cannot tell us that you inherited the assets and liabilities of former President Muhammadu Buhari, which was a great enabler of it, if not the greatest. And you say, and I give an illustration, Muhammadu Buhari plunges 60 feet into the ground. And you're telling us that to bring us out of Muhammadu Buhari's mess, you have to plunge us 120 feet down, 60 feet more than what we were. So are you not trying to tell us that recovery is going to take like forever? Or even it's impossible? It's not rocket science. These guys in office right now don't even have an idea of how to run this country. And that's the truth.
All right. I think Razaq wants to react.
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, I have complete and absolute faith in the government.
In this administration.
In this administration. And we all know that repair is not an immediate thing, which is what we are going through. Well, my point
you call this a repair?
Yes, repair. And my point is that with this security political structure, any government that can last 1 year is excellent. He has performed excellently. And I give you analysis of it. You give the president of your country, Nigeria, the power to preside over the security of 36 states of the Federation. You raised reports from Navy, from police, from SSS, for him to even be able to checkmate Boko Haram to some extent. I think the man should be praised. I don't expect the security of this country to be in this form since 1990 date. Because one human being be providing peace of mind to 250 million Nigerians. That we are able to get to this point is miracle to me. That's one thing. And to just oppose the point I'm making, tell me any government today in Nigeria since 1999 that its administration, when it came in, inflation came down better than the previous administration. Can you tell me one? When the person was there, his case was worse than Absalom. When Jonathan was there, his case was worse than Obasanjo. When Buhari there. So,
but the question now is, sorry, at what percentage?
It's an intellectualist if you interject.
Okay.
Except you tell me one government that has done well. And my own point is that Tinubu may also fall into how we have categorized
the others.
If you don't restructure, and all of us are pretending as if it's not about the structure, it's just one miracle. When your car is bad, you pay it, no matter how good the driver is. And the dedicated vehicle we are talking about since 1999 has not been repaired. And so you are expecting a miracle. And that is my concern with Nigerians. Are we talking about Ghana? State police, we are still mingling with state police, whether we still want it or not. The bill signed by Buhari on power sector, the president is supposed to give the state a marching order. What's my business with power sector again? If you do an express road, will you still be buying vehicle for Nigerians? You have laid the what is called the technical term used for this wire. Why will the president think that he should be the one to go and be putting light in the house of people for 36 states? It's not. It's the state. And when someone is adamant, when the driver is adamant that I'm going to drive this driver, is the responsibility of the driver and the owner and the passenger in the vehicle that no, this vehicle cannot take us. So it's your responsibility. Don't run away from it.
You seem to be shifting the blame from the president.
Can I respond to
that? When Buhari was there for 8 years, I kept blaming Buhari that he didn't restructure Nigeria. But for going far with this structure, I praised him. So for Asiwaju to be able to locomote a country that depends solely on dollar transaction, there's virtually nothing in this country. I do water. I produce water. Except the water we drink, every other thing is dollar. It's imported. And you expect that country to survive.
Let's listen to Adeyemi.
If you rise in unison, without this deviation about the president should do this, without deviation, to focus on the source of our problem. maybe he will have understood what we are talking about, what we are telling him, all this one. The moment a president gets to that office, he's encircled. And they create impression for him that things are moving. Anybody that criticizes is an opposition. That is why will Buhari be expressing concern and amazement that, am I this hated? So I didn't do this well. Because he's encircled. There are a few occasions I also met Jonathan too. That I've said, Mr. President, this is not working. Until he left office and made us understand that, hey, I didn't know. Are we going to wait until
I think what you've painted is a scenario of disconnect between the president.
Because of the political structure. Because of the political structure.
Anyway, let's listen to Adeyemi on this one.
When you say, and let me pick it up from where his illustration or analogy of a car being faulty. Let's assume that your car, the engine knocked, cranked, and you want to repair it. When you are repairing a car, that you probably remove the engine, you put a new engine, you start it, you test run it, you see what you are doing. It doesn't mean that because you want to repair the car, you now dismantle everything. And it is trying to be, it's trying to be diplomatic when you want to blame Nigerians or blame the system for what we have. It said that, was there any government better off? Yeah, there was. When Obasanjo left office, GDP was going at 5%. When Jonathan was there, it was hovering around 7 to 8. That was an improvement.
No. The Jonathan's as president was better than what? That's what you are saying.
No, I'm saying
a president government.
No, you said record. No. I was responding to what you said.
No. I said, is there a government in Nigeria since 1990 that when the outgoing person has gone, the present government, its administration was better than the previous?
It depends
I can't find one.
It depends on.
And this is the picture we have already painted.
I think the issue here is
the president. This is
even though there are observations,
what did you say about Buhari? We said
the question of Nigerians at what percentage?
And I won.
I think there's something we should do. But he's interjecting. I can't
talk.
Sorry. I thought you allowed me.
No. Secondly, I was going to say this. It is going to be a great disservice to Nigerians if we are missing this conversation. The conversation, whether the system is faulty, whether the system is superb, he knew the job he signed up for. He said it was a lifelong ambition. Did he just wake up 2022 and said he wants to become the president? He knew what he was up against. So he knew the structure on ground. So we are assessing him based on his mandate, his promises, and what have you. And in 1 year, it's a total disaster. It's nothing to write home about. We cannot be here cutting him some slacks. He put himself forward. Yes, kudos to him for thinking. And he said a lot of things. He believed he was the best man for the job. And he got the job. Whether disputed or what have you, he's still the president. And he's going to be there for at least next 3 years. So let us rate him based on his promises. Let us rate him based on the lives and the effects of his administration and government his policies on Nigerians. And in submission, and let me land on this, I studied mathematics in mathematical sciences. There's something called real analysis and abstract algebra. The reality on ground, the real analysis on ground, forget about the 32-point-something% you're saying. Inflation on the street is around 300%. Price of goods has tripled. That's 300%. House rent is going up every day because of a policy that was not well thought out. And you said you remove subsidy, but you're still paying subsidy. You've not denied it. The NNPC last year paid for subsidy using the receipt of dividend from the Nigerian liquefied natural gas against constitutional provisions. Because Section 80 and 81 says public revenue. You must retire everything to professional account.
Adeyemi, let's get into specifics now. Let's, of course, do some sort of timestamp as regards the inflation rate from 1999. We see from May 1999, it was about 11.36%. As of April 2000, it dropped to minus 0.5%. You can see there was a decrease of about 0.9%. That was during the regime of President Olusegun Obasanjo.
This administration regime is military.
Sorry, administration, thank you for that. Now, for, of course, that of Yaradua, that's on, at 2007. The inflation rate as of May 2007 was at 4.64%. And then, of course, by 2008, April, it increased to about 8.7%. 17%. You can see there on the screen, a 7.66% increase. Now, let's, of course, go to that of Jonathan. We notice there an 11.85% increase when it comes to inflation rate. If you look at it consistently from the time of Yar'Adua all the way to Tinubu, there has been a consistent increase. But my question is this: if you look at the percentage, the difference, that of Yar'Adua to Jonathan, it was at 7.66%. And then you have it at during the time of Jonathan,
just 5%.
Yeah, 5%. The same thing to even from Jonathan to Buhari, just 12%, 12.48%. But this current administration went up to 31.15 in 1 year. I'm trying to understand exactly. Okay, please
now,
react.
If you look at the pattern, it kept growing. The inappropriate security architecture of this country led to the incursion of bandits into virtually all the states in the country. And that made them given a capacity to displace our farmers. That has affected supply line of our foods. And it's getting worse because there's no state police. If you had allowed the police to design, the state to design their own system of security, they will secure their farm. So the farmland kept reducing by the day. Sorry, let me make my point.
Is it about...
Wait, the farmland kept reducing. So we now resort to buying food from Niger, from Benin Republic to augment what we consume.
I'm sorry, Razaq. I'm sorry to
that was right. A bag of rice at Jonathan's time increased.
But at what percentage?
No.
I mean, if you go back to that graphic.
So the percentage is your concern. What led to is not your concern.
No, so
the issues have always been there.
I'm a social scientist.
Okay.
I'm a political scientist. I'm a chartered public administrator, and I'm a professional manager. From the scientific point of view, what will you first investigate when there's a concern is where the problem is coming from. You will solve the problem, you will heal the wound, but what's the source of the wound? You can't be talking about healing the wound without looking at the source of the diseases you conducted. So what is the source of the inflation in this country? And I've given you one example. For me, that I do water, before now, the dollar rate was not as bad as this. But because of our incurable commitment to buying foreign product, and it increased the purchasing power of dollar, while it shattered that of the naira. So all these explanations tend to the fact that we need to reorganize our country. This country is designed in such a way that it may not likely work.
So, let's listen to Adeyemi's reaction to this, and then we'll move to another.
Since 1966, look at the pattern of how things get worse. The pattern has not changed. And Nigerians are thinking that, tell me one, we are here on life, tell me one, bring out your data.
Okay.
This is what we live our life for.
Let's of course,
I live my life to concern about how Nigerians live their life better. So it's in my head.
Razaq, let's get Adeyemi's reaction, and then we'll move on to other, of course,
the first thing
indices.
that messed up or probably brought about inflation in Yar'Adua's and the earlier parts of Jonathan administration, unless anybody wants to dispute that, was the global economic meltdown.
Which is still around.
And, you know, that was...
half of our own is man-made.
But let me tell you, maybe if I want to help Razaq and everything happening now... Now, I want to help you with a revelation, or probably a reminder. President Bola Tinubu at an event said something when it was a tax forum. He said, we would reduce the purchasing power of the people and will further slow down the economy. He said it.
I don't know the context at which you said it.
If you can ask, you might not be able to verify that.
No, it's verifiable.
I don't know.
No, you can do me a favor.
There's no president of the nation.
I'm coming.
The point you are...
Razaq, please.
Let me have the floor.
Let's allow.
And you can even ask the producers at the back, and they're probably listening to us right there. Just let them Google and probably on YouTube. It's there. He said they would reduce the purchasing power of the people. That was what he said. And slow down the economy. And you know the most painful part? People were applauding him. And that's how people have been mesmerized with pure unintelligence. Because if you're slowing down your economy, you're reducing the purchasing power of the people, what does that tell you? Inflation, devaluation of your naira, of your currency, underemployment, and unemployment. That was what he said. And everything happening is exactly what as he has said it. So why are we surprised? Why is anybody trying to tell me it's a system he met on ground? It was what he said he was going to do, his words. And in fairness to President Bola Tinubu, in all of promises he made, that was the only thing that made me see him as a man of his words. That he said he was going to slow down the economy. He did. He said he was going to increase he said he was going to reduce the purchasing power of Nigerians. He did. He said he will expand the tax net. And let me give you an instance of expanding the tax net. Now the POS operators they've been mandated to go register with CAC, business as a business name or what have you, in that category. And the arguments of CAC was because they want to have enough data of POS operators in Nigeria. And that is, for me, that is just silly. Because if you approach all these banks and what have you, they have their KYCs and they will give you the number of POS operators, or vendors on their platforms. But you know what? Do you know what they are trying to do? There's no way you register a business name that you don't file returns. He's expanding the tax net. So there's nothing that is happening when it comes to inflation. There's nothing that's happening when it comes to naira losing its value daily or anyhow. There's nothing happening to the rising cost of goods and consumables. There's nothing new. Or there's nothing about the purchasing power that President Bola Tinubu did not promise Nigerians.
Let's go into, of course, the rising cost of food items, for instance. I mean, I've had conversations with people that, in the market. We know that in terms of food inflation on the screen right now, then it was about 24.82%. Now it's 40.54%.
You're only responsible for that.
I was getting somewhere. I had conversations with quite a number of people that are into the food business. Aside insecurity, a major concern is the cost of transportation, which they linked to the removal of fuel subsidy, aside other policies of bringing in items, food items and all of that into the country. So my question to you is this. In terms of food security, do you think that the administration is actually doing a fantastic job?
Well, I don't know why the rise in price is solely the fault of the government. You have not been able to match the issues together. If you say...
You're exonerating the government with the rise in price of food items?
If you are blaming him on the government only. For instance, now, when you say insecurity, you want to demystify it by saying that it's not one of the fundamental issues. That's dangerous. Because even concerns...
But insecurity has always been there.
Can I make my point?
Compared to... we've had it during the time of good luck. We had it during the time
things got better. And Islam got better than that of the previous...
But it's worse now.
It would be worse. With what you expect. So, you are my colleague. Wait, stop. Okay. You are my colleague. You are removing yourself from the responsibility of seeing yourself as having a shared responsibility in moving Nigeria.
I'm not the command structure of the armed forces.
No, that's not the point I'm making. Which is that the institutions that is weak, you think it's not a concern. What makes a country great is institutions. This structure cannot strengthen our institutions. It's weakening it by the day. And you see,
now the president is a contributor of it.
It's not.
I'll give you an instance when you are done.
And he said it's going to weaken the currency. I don't know the language.
He said it would depreciate. It would reduce the purchasing power of the people.
To me, because there's no, in the context in which he said it, it would have been fair if he had said it in that way. There was a place in the Bible where Christ said, "Bring them to me," and people quoted Jesus said, "I said, you should bring them to me and kill them." I'm not a Christian, but that was not the context in which Jesus Christ said it. And because of some of this inciting thing, that was what led to the formation of the Calvinists, who were killing non-Christians. The same thing in the Quran. The context at which Muhammad said that certain people should be fought, that was not Christians. It was on the basis of that you see Al-Qaeda, the IC. So we should be careful in modifying or deliberately.
I reject that. I reject that because I reject that. I didn't come up with such insinuation. It was his
not
words.
To decimate Nigeria.
No, please.
Sorry, you would have the opportunity to react.
At which the president is saying it.
Let's
not to decimate Nigeria. He's making a point. Now, the food insecurity in this country, the water that's coming from Cameroon, we should be praying that it should be coming every 1 month. These are clean waters.
Water coming from Cameroon?
Yes, as a flood. These are clean waters that can be dammed in all the 36 states of the Federation. But because of the indulgent structure of this country, that water is coming to commit havoc in our country. In the far north.
I'm sorry, Razaq. Can we just listen to Adeyemi for just so?
Yeah. No, you're talking about food insecurity. Yes. I'm giving you instances of why the food prices will go up. One of which is insecurity. And the second thing is the attitude of our governor. As long as you go to Abuja every 30 days of the month and you get money and come back home, the priority of the governors in all the states will never be food. But when you reverse it to compel the states to run their affair and, in fact, pay taxes to the federal government, it's going to make a lot of more sense, and our priority will be wider. Every state will take what their people will eat serious. But as long as we hold president responsible, which is the pattern our country is structured and the constitution is made, we are going to be in this mess for as long as we change the political structure. All
right, Razaq, let's listen to Adeyemi. Okay. I mean,
like I said, I resist that appellation or description that wasn't the context to make the statement. I was being clear that I made a statement, and the reality on ground is in tune with what he said. People can go and check the speech at the tax forum. Secondly, when we talk about insecurity, insecurity constitutes or contribute like 70% to the food insecurity we're having in the country. And I agree. But what jacked it up to 70% is the hardship unleashed on Nigerians by this administration. And I'll tell you why. To some of us that indulge in intelligence analysis and counterterrorism activities and what have you, the pronouncement by President Bola Tinubu on May 29 that subsidy has gone. And the ripple effect of that pronouncement that brought about untold hardship on Nigerians made the federal government lose the vital source of intel to fight combat insecurity. And that's what we call human intelligence. Because people are now impoverished, they are starving, they are now torn between the devil and the bigger devil. Now, the bigger devil in their domain, which we call bandits, and that is one of the most unpatriotic acts or action of former President Muhammadu Buhari. These guys are not bandits. These guys are terrorists. It was a description pushed out to make that government looks as if they've combated Boko Haram. When Boko Haram, to some of us will tell you that Boko Haram is what you have operating in the northwest and northeast, because they changed operations or mode of operations. They inculcated, they incubated these guys, and they work together. And that is it. We are still dealing with Boko Haram, or we are dealing with terrorists. Interest might vary, but we are dealing with terrorists in Northwest, not bandits. Bandits is just a de-escalation of classification of these insurgents. So that's aside. Now, I'll cite an instance to buttress my point how the hardship brought about losing humans. You ask yourself, how did a zone, a ground, identified as a terrorist hideout location, and from point of deployment to that spot by Nigerian army, it became a religious gathering? Because the people are now compromising intel. They rather want to compromise intel to stay alive under the security now provided by the bandits, or to stay alive because of the tax haven those guys have given them a tax holiday. Because those guys are imposing tax on people. It's reported, widely reported across dailies in Nigeria. So that you see, and hardship, the economic crisis and insecurity will go hand in hand.
So how do you, because I mean, we are talking about food security, right?
Security of
I'm still staying with
I'm supporting the
I'll
point
come back to you,
but I just don't give an information.
How do you...
Can I give an information?
Okay, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. The picture you are expecting is correct. In fact, I didn't do more
I don't want NSA to call me.
It's going to get to a point where virtually everywhere of this country will have 2 layers of institutions to seek for when it comes to security. The unconventionals, Boko Haram, each region has their own peculiarity. In the east, they have their own. In the north, they have their own. In the north, it's rearing its ugly head in the south.
No, it's already been in the southwest.
In the southwest too. And what's responsible for that? We made an attempt, and the peace, similarly peace the people are enjoying in the southwest today. We have showcased what is called the state police. And one of the co-founders of Amatekun, we put something in place, and all the states are adopting the model. So if something similar is not done in the north, it will not be changed. It will not be, the picture may not be different from what you have printed. And that is why I am appealing to you, and some of you who felt that if the president didn't do it, let us hang him. You know that the more you put up that attitude, the more you are, they are thinking that, okay, 100% of the process belongs to them, as if there is not a shared responsibility. We have to be assertive to the president of the country today that this security architecture is not going to work. To that extent, we demand for a state police. No. And that is the picture. That is the picture that every nation that works, that's the picture.
Talking about breaking...
in comparison?
But talking about governance at the community or grassroots level, I'm getting at somewhere because we're pressed for time.
Yeah.
I'd like to know your take, 30 seconds. Last week, the federal government, or early this week, the federal government actually did sue the 36, or proposed to sue 36 state governments, as regards local government autonomy in terms of finances and all of that. And there's also even a sound bite where recently the president in a meeting actually told people to hold their state governors also accountable, particularly when it comes to governance at the community level, at the grassroots level. I'd like to know your reaction in 30 seconds to this. I'm
going to sum everything up in 30 seconds. Firstly, it's not just every state, every nation that works that has state police. In the United Kingdom, there's metropolitan police. There are no state police there. That's as a start.
It's a layer.
Yeah, but the same layer we have in Nigeria.
It might be layer.
But secondly, secondly, for me, it's this. The president should please.
There's London police, there's transport police in London.
They should stop this.
There's all sorts of police in the
Let me do about 30 seconds later. Okay. If he wants to really resolve the local government issue and the financial autonomy, I think it's Section 17 that empowers the state to control local government and conduct elections. Take the power from them and amend Section 80 and 81 of the Constitution and capture local government to be receiving allocation directly from the federation account. Simple. Why go to, because if you go to court, the Supreme Court will interpret the whatever based on the Constitution, provisions of Constitution. Simple.
All right. Thank you so much.
There's someone in the Constitution that says local government is not the government. It's an aberration. We are going to regret local government autonomy. Local government is a business of the states. That's the pattern all over the world. Because you are collecting money from the center. That's why people want autonomy.
We need to go. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for being, of course, on the first half of the program. Adeyemi and also Razaq. Once again, thank you for your time on the show.
Thank you for having me.